Hi guys, I've bought a new milling machine vise. It's from Taiwan and it is labelled Homge, H-O-M-G-E. It's $1,000 or more cheaper than a Kurt vise. It may have been a mistake, but I hope shortly that we'll find out. It's pretty rugged. I can't remember the weight, but it is quite heavy. It did come on a swivelling base, and I've removed the base because very rarely have I found that I needed to swivel the vise on the mill, and removing the base means it sits a bit lower, and obviously it has to be more rigid. It came very well packaged, and was all of the surfaces were covered in a waxy grease of some sort. It looks a little bit like CRC soft seal, but it probably isn't. Came off fairly easily, and it came with a big ugly handle, which is this, which I hate, because it swivels when you don't want it to, and it's too long, and it ends up impacting the milling machine when I'm trying to use it. So So the first thing I'll do is throw that away and fabricate a handle a bit like I've done for the other mill, out of a socket, and make something a bit shorter and without the swivel, or at least without a swivel that flops all around over the place. So I'll get it mounted on the mill. We'll tram it and see how parallel the jaws are to the ways on the mill. This is my plastic hammer, which I will use for tramming the vise. So let's get it mounted up here. Now these are not the bolts that came with it. The bolts that came with it won't actually fit the T-slots in my mill, so I've just got something temporary here. But I will machine up some decent bolts. Now the way that I tram my vise is thusly. I tighten or snug up the bolt on one side only, on this side here, and leave it free on this side. So that means that when I'm adjusting the vise, it's hinging about this point, which means if I measure the vise here and I'm adjusting at this point, it remains relatively constant, and it only moves on that side, and it makes tramming the vise much easier. I'll just move in a bit closer so that you can see what's going on. That was not a bad guess for a start. Right, so we'll zero the vise at that side. Right, it's a little proud here, so I'll just tap the vise across with my plastic hammer to zero on that side. Alright, so we're now 4 proud on that side now, 4/100ths of a millimetre. So we'll bring this across to +4. +4. So we'll snug up this side a bit more. Snug up the other side, which is still loose, totally. Right, so that's moved it a few hundredths. Right, so 300's there. And 200's there. So we're within 100th of a millimetre. I can't move that now because the nuts are too tight. But anyway, that's close enough for our test measurements. So what I'm going to do for a start is measure the height of the stationary jaw with respect to the surface of the mill. Now I realise that I don't have that normal to the jaw, at right angles to the jaw, but for the purposes of the measurement, it's probably will still give us a good indication. Well, I'm just going to tighten the vertical jib on the mill and bring that back to 0. Just check that you can actually see that. I think you can. Maybe that's better. Right, so we're on dead on 0 there. And we're 100ths low here, so if we call this side 0 and that side +1, because we're 100th high on that side. See, I'm probably being unfair to the mice there. Plus 1.5 hundredths there, if you'll excuse the plus 1.5 there. Plus 1 there. No, so we're actually 1/2 hundredth high on that side. So we'll call that side 0. Right, so I'll go across and have a look at the other jaw. Not that this means a lot when I haven't got the jaw snugged up, but just for interest's sake. Let's try and 0 that. Plus 1 there, plus 1/100th. Plus 2/100ths there. Plus 2.5. Plus 1.5. So we're about plus 1 here. On the right hand side, 0 there. Right, so let's put a parallel in the jaws. I'll just wipe those jaws off. With a not so clean piece of rag, sorry, tissue. And I'll use this horrible spanner to clamp up that parallel. Right, so I've got no weight on it at the moment, so the parallel is virtually loose. Try and get a better angle on this dial gauge. Right, I won't attempt to zero it because it's tricky. I'll just get you a little bit closer here onto the dial gauge itself, and I'll tell you what the numbers are. Right, so we're on the movable jaw at the moment, and we are showing, I'll go to the centre of the jaw. So we're showing just a tad over plus 400ths. The jaw is loose. I'm now going to snug it. Right, so that's gone up by half a hundredth. I'll now lean on the spanner. So I'll probably put about 50 pounds on the end of the spanner, which is around about a foot long, and that jaw moved upwards by half a hundredth of a millimetre, which is 0.2 of a thou. So I'm now going to loosen the jaws totally. Well, effectively it didn't move. There was a bit of flex in the milling machine, but the jaw itself came back to where it was supposed to be. Let's have a look at the fixed jaw. So the fixed jaw is, and that's another point, the fixed jaw is level, the top of the fixed jaw is exactly level with the top of the movable jaw at the moment. They're both showing 5 on the dial gauge. The jaw is loose. I'm now going to snug it up. It moved up by a 100th. That's now really tight. It's moved up by 1.5 hundredths. So the rear jaw moved up by 1.5 hundredths of a millimetre, which is 0.3 of a thou. And we'll compare the two jaws. So I apologise for the change in zero. Right, so that's the movable jaw. We're 1/100th proud there, 2/100ths there. So when I put a lot of pressure on the jaw, the fixed jaw goes up by 1/100th of a millimetre. Now I have to say that I haven't actually checked the Allen bolts that hold that jaw down, so I probably should have done that before we did this test. Okay, let's now move the vise over to the surface plate and see what it looks like on the surface plate. Fucking tripod. It's a bloody way of everything. So I'm just going to put a bit of blue on here. And we'll just have a look at the bottom of the Now I promise you I haven't done this before with the vise, so but I'm betting that it's hollow in the centre. And I was right, it's actually a lot worse than I thought it was. I don't know whether you can see that. I'll just bring you in a little bit there. Alright, so that's fairly obvious. It's high there and high there. There's a little trace of blue just there, a little trace there, a little trace there. So I'll just highlight those. Now I know what's going to happen here, Yarn. You're going to send me an email saying do some scraping. I don't have a scraping tool. You can't buy them in New Zealand. Right, so those are the areas that it's touching. That would actually be an interesting project. Yeah, so that's where it's touching, and there's probably not a lot in it by my standards. All right, that's a $300 Taiwanese milling vise. Actually, when it's pulled down here with the bolts, this might disappear on the mill anyway. That's a $300 milling vise. I'm still fairly happy with it. It's quite well made. I'm now going to pull that fixed jaw off and just see how clean it is underneath the jaws. And in fact, I might, if I find anything interesting, I'll put that on a video as well. Thanks for watching, guys, and look forward to your comments.